Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're doing EU4 with a couple of mods. We have got the Empires of Ruin mod, which I tried to stream a couple of days ago. I'll put a little card on the video if you want to check that out. I was playing as this nation, you can see here, Avaria. Didn't go well, it was a pretty rough hour, but if you enjoy watching me get destroyed, then that would be a good video for you. Or just a bad EU4 player in general. That would be a great video to go check out. But we also then have another mod, which is basically unlocks all the formable nations immediately. And to example that, okay, so to combine these mods, basically Empires of Ruin splits the map up a whole lot more, breaks up Europe. You can see in France here, good example, in Spain, very broken up, lots of civs. But this unlocking of the formable nations means that basically any nation can be formed like right away. There's a few cultural limits, you just can't just form a random one. Because we have so many nations, it's kind of a first come first served, and I've ran the game for 10 years just to give some examples of that, so it's easier to explain what's going on. Hungary has already formed the Roman Empire here as a good example. There's a Germany here. There is a Russia, and I think this is already the second Russia, because the first Russia died and then the next nation just was like, I want to be Russia, so they converted. I only just saw we already have the Mongol Empire here in Europe. It goes on. There's a Scottish Great Britain and an England, so it's going to be pretty chaotic. I am going to let the first sort of 50 years run by itself, and then sort of I'm going to hop in at time intervals. I think that would be the best way to make this video. We'll see how that works. Obviously it's all a learning process since I've come back. Also, sorry if I sound weird, I've got a terrible sore throat. Really good, you know, as soon as I come back to making videos, health is just like, nope, you're gonna suffer. Also, look, the Mamluks in sort of Morocco, there you go, although Morocco is also here. So we're gonna hopefully see some crazy action and hopefully some like different powerful nations than what you normally get in EU4, which could be quite fun. Okay, so it's New Year's Eve on 1499, quite a bit back in the past, but we've had a period of consolidation in Europe. England sort of took out the Scottish Great Britain, as you can imagine. Iceland is now seemingly being kicked out as well, but you'll probably notice, and this is probably more to the Empires of Ruin mod than the Formable Nations mod, but there's quite a few areas that are much, I guess, more broken up still than you'd expect at this time frame in the game. For example, Ireland. England are there, but not much. Let's go around by region, although if I zoom in it just shows a ton of units. Iberia, still very broken. You've got a few bigger nations, Valencia, Madrid, but as you'll see, sort of overshadowed by Toulouse here in France. They, very briefly, I wasn't clicking in looking at the details, but they just took all of the other nation that was here. I can't remember what they were called, which is quite bad now. I think it wasn't Lorraine, but that's all that's coming to mind. The Red Nation that was here, they just annexed them all in one go, so I think they must have had a PU or something, and yeah, now they're basically just like Super France. So that's still going. Other areas, mostly, you know, the HRE is mostly the same. The Danes emerged. Scandinavia's had a few switches. Italy, again, there's some slowly consolidating. We do have the Kingdom of God, which is kind of cool, from what was the Papal State. Mamluks, Algiers is here. Not too much changes here. Let's come around this way. You've got a big Egypt at the moment, and Arabia. The Persian Empire collapsed pretty much into the Timurids, Sabzavar, and Thuran here, although Persia has actually now re-emerged in the east. I think this is someone else who's formed a new Persia. It's not the original one, unless they've moved in a very weird direction. You've got Rum, who is another example. They are certainly not as big as the Ottomans would be expected to be by 1500. Byzantium is still around, and then you have the Roman Empire, which was Hungary. They are starting to expand into Greece, and then yeah, as you move into what would normally be Poland, Commonwealth, Muscovy, and a few other stragglers at this point, you've still got a very divided Eastern Europe. Galicia, who is allied to the Roman Empire, that is one I do know about. Danzig, the Commonwealth is here, to be fair, and Poland is here. Ruthenia, the Mongol Empire, still kicking around. Golden Horde, and then you've got, yes, lots of sort of Russian tributaries. There is a Russia in one province, Still, again, if they die, someone else will probably just become Russia, and it's kind of a first come, first served on doing that. But that's Europe. If we come now to Africa, West Africa here, sort of get an idea of what's going on, and the southern parts, I think, fairly standard. I don't think the rest of the world is affected as much by the Empires of Ruin mod. It's just mainly a mod where Europe is struggling. And here you have India. You have got some interesting events in China. Ming is just not even around. You have Yue and Yuan, who are two of the biggest powers in the world, but I see Yuan is being occupied by Dai Viet, so I don't know how that's going so badly for them, but they're struggling there, so they could get broken up. And then Korea's here. Sort of, there is a Japan, because again someone just formed it immediately, but it looks like they died and then no one else reformed them, so that's something to keep an eye out for, I guess. And then down here, and then again I don't think there'll be any different to any standard game out this way. A couple of I've bought all the new DLCs. That might be why. Does that explain why there are these regions where there's no colour? I have no idea, but I bought all the DLCs in the Christmas sale. I'm guessing that's something to do with that. But there we go. So I'll continue onwards and see how it plays out. But yeah, it's pretty interesting at the moment. Our great powers, you have Toulouse, Yue, Egypt, Yuan, Bahmanis, Roman Empire, Rum, and England. So there is a lot of red flags with yellow writing on 4 of them. But yeah, there is a lot of time to go. We'll see how it pans out. But as you see, it's pretty balanced. I think you have 4 Asian civs and 4 European currently making up the great powers of the world. So there we go. Okay, so another 50 years have passed in game, and we had some big events. The main event was at the start of that sort of 50-year period. Rum just fell apart. Egypt kicked it off, and then everyone just sort of, while the same war was going on, joined in. There was 4 initial wars, so Egypt, Byzantium, Treviso, and then these guys, Ilkhanate, joined in, and then there was a couple more to obviously finish them off in the middle. But yeah, Rum just looks like they're completely gone. So that was a quick fall for who was one of the bigger nations in the world at the time. But other areas, we've still got some consolidation going on in Iberia. Toulouse has mainly left them alone. I think they had one venture down here. What have they got here? Incorporated vassal in Luxembourg. It's my first time using all these DLCs I've bought, so I'm going to be honest, I don't exactly know what that is, but that's cool. England are just keeping GB alive for like no real reason. No truce, no alliance, no nothing. Just leaving them there, stuck in Perth here, for whatever reason. Scandinavia blew up even more, and then it seems to have got a bit better now. Finland has died out. Scandinavia is still here, but they lost most of their territory. But it's still pretty gross. What else have we got? Toulouse, we've sort of seen. The HRE, I mean, I'm not going into there. That is a mess at all times. Italy, the Kingdom of God, is definitely the biggest nation, but you can see the Roman Empire has begun to take some land in there. They're currently up against a coalition. It hasn't fired, but it's gone away now. There was a coalition here with some of these other nations. That has gone away. But yeah, that was that. And then the Mongol Empire has been the main winner out here in the east, although Novgorod is looking bigger as well. And notably, they have a lot of tributaries. Adoyev, Ryazan, Ruthenia, Sibir, Polotsk, Theodoro, Golden Horde, and Shirvan, as well as some good alliances. So that's something to bear in mind. And yeah, we've seen what's happened with Turkey sort of being divided up. If we come down the map for a minute, we have Egypt. Hang on a minute. Saxon Jerusalem. That's a new one. That's I have no idea when or how that happened. I did see that grey blob and was like, that is weird, but that is beyond my comprehension of how on earth has that happened. I don't know. It's probably not a good thing. Mamluks, Afarikia, they're dropping in and out of the great powers. They are currently 6th, which is pretty good. They're doing very well, as are Egypt, another definite great power here, looking quite big. Pretty much started the fall of Rum. Further south, I don't think there's been too many changes. We have started to see some of the islands getting picked up. I think Toulouse have the Cape Verde Islands here, and this province here. Then we have Andalusia and Asturias sharing the Tenerife, Gran Canaria provinces here. Madeira is Danish, as is the Azores. But then in terms of other colonising, all we've got in the new world... Okay, that's new. That's just now. Andalusia has gone for... Is this the Dominican Republic side of that island? And then up north you do have the Dutch and English, who are the only nations I've seen so far colonising, although it does look like some of those Iberian nations are starting to now, and Toulouse will probably be involved in that as well at some point soon. But if we come out here to Asia, Timurids, the new Persia growing pretty well. Arabia is still here as well. You've got quite a big nation here in Bukhara who I think are colonising, so they are grabbing this Russian territory slowly. We'll see how they compete. And then we have Yuan, Manchu, Korea. Yue's fallen apart a bit. Yuan never went back after Dai Viet, after that war that was going on last time. The Bahmanis are one of the greatest powers in the world as well, in southern India there. And then I think this is mostly the same as it was, and Japan's still very, very divided at this point in time. So there we go, that is the world in 1500. Toulouse is the strongest of the great powers, then it's the Roman Empire, then the Bahmanis, then England. It's definitely the game for the red background, golden logo, flag countries at the moment. Egypt sit in 5th, although on development they haven't embraced the institution, neither have the Bahmanis, so both of those would be higher. In fact, the Bahmanis do have the most dev of all of them, and Egypt would go to 3rd should they embrace the institutions. And as you can see, Africa then in 6th, Netherlands in 7th, and the Byzantines currently in 8th. I just want to check, is there who are because there is a lot of rotation in this. I've seen the Mongols on this list at certain times and not others. I think that's it at the moment. Obviously Rum would have been on it 50 years ago and now isn't. Yeah, I thought there might have been someone else, but maybe I'm just getting confused. No, I think the Mongol Empire is the only other one that sort of comes on and off as wars are going on. We'll see if they get back on there. I don't think the Chinese nations, Yuan fell off when Dai Viet attacked them, and Yue has broken up a little bit, but they would have been on there at times. But yeah, it's maybe a bit less volatile than it was. But yeah, the Mongols certainly the other nation that has appeared on this list when I've been checking it every now and again. Okay guys, we are at 1600 now, and we're getting some pretty big nations, starting to see how the game unfolds. No changes in the British Isles, as you can see, and Toulouse, again, mostly the same. It seems England... Oh, it was Picardy. It does seem to have died a bit here, but mostly okay. As you can see, Iberia is starting to blob out that bit more. Andalusia is looking like they're going to come out on top there. And we still have Africa being pretty big in North Africa. Morocco's grown as well, and the Mamluks seem to have died out on this side now. We can also see as Africa owns some of Sardinia. They also own Naples, so that's quite interesting. Tuscany is here. There's still some more Roman provinces spread throughout Italy as well. I believe this nation is also Italy as well, sort of the next biggest one in the north, which is pretty interesting. You still have your HRE, fairly blobby. I don't think there's anything too crazy in there apart from the continued existence of Saxon Mashriq here. That has not been challenged just yet. There was just the Leagues War, which was interesting, so I don't believe we have Protestantism or... Oh, we do have Protestant, but we don't have Catholicism. We have Chalcedonian instead, which is most of Europe, and as you can imagine, that side had Rome, France, and England was also on their side, so they just won, but it wasn't that big. We do have some new nations. Russia formed out of Tver, but it seems like the Mongols are attacking them at the moment with their... which is fine. The Mongols did beat Bukhara in a war as well, so that sort of gives you a hint about how strong they are. Novgorod is growing as well, and is probably going to become the strongest nation in Scandinavia in the north eventually. No real movement in Turkey. They've kind of maintained the borders. Oh, that's another one. There is France in Rhodes. Now they are allied to the Papal State. I don't know how this has happened, but they're here. They're allied with Toulouse and the Roman Empire. That's not bad. If you've got that, you're good. The Timurids has beaten Persia and Transoxiana, so emerged pretty strong here. Egypt is currently fighting the Arabians, it looks like, and Somalia, which makes sense. Kilwa's grown a bit in the south and certainly consolidated Madagascar. The Bahmanis have turned into Hindustan, and Bengal is also expanding into sort of what is more China territory. And Yue continues to sort of slowly fall apart. Manchu is growing. Japan, who is this? Tsutsui has started to grow fairly well. I think this region sort of fairly similar things around. And if we go over to the New World, we do now have Nova Hollandia and New Netherlands as big nations, as well as Newfoundland. The Creek are pretty big as well here. And then you have Andalusia being the main nation in the Caribbean, but Iceland and Asturias are also around. English Mexico, the main nation around this side. And then South America, I believe the only European at the moment is still Toulouse, who have just founded Toulousian La Plata. So that is how it's looking at 1600. Pretty interesting. We'll just do the great powers. Toulouse is currently sat at number 1, Egypt number 2, the Roman Empire in 3rd, England in 4th, the Timurids in 5th now, Netherlands 6th, Mongols in 7th, and Bengal sits in 8th, which is interesting because you'd have thought Hindustan would have been the biggest, but Bengal has expanded as well. But they are definitely probably honourable mentions. Just looking at that list, I would expect to be Hindustan. Byzantium might still be close, but probably not. They've not really expanded. Afrikia has fallen off, but again they could be a contender. I don't know if Novgorod's probably not quite big enough, and I wonder if Andalusia could get big enough to get on there, potentially in the longer run, but not at the moment. Okay, 1650 now. We have progressed even further, and as you can see there, we caught a big war that just broke out. Toulouse taking on Andalusia and Morocco. I believe Toulouse won last time, but it wasn't like a complete stomp. We'll see if it goes the other way this time at all. But they did put up a good defence, but I think they may have handed over a colony last time, so we'll double check on that. But we do have some developments. England has become Britannia, not Great Britain, which is pretty cool. Not something you see every time. Then we've got Toulouse, the Netherlands, still the same in Europe. And yeah, as I said before, Andalusia becoming the main Iberian civ, unless you count Toulouse as that as well. There is a Lotharingia in there as well. I don't know if you can see it. It's the same colour, but they're just about here. And then you have Sardinia in the light blue as well. Italy looks mainly the same, as does a lot of Eastern Europe. I think it's not moved maybe as much as you'd have thought. I think the Romans have had a very chill 50 years. To be fair, and even Turkey, I don't think there's been any wars. I think it's just due to do with alliances. Byzantium and Treviso have a pretty strong alliance, and then Ilkhanate and Georgia have not been involved, and Egypt are interested elsewhere. They are expanding into Arabia. They also had a bit of a, I don't know, I wasn't here, it's running in the background, but Egypt, they seem to have let some of the nations pop out again and have been slowly reconquering them. So I don't know if they lost a big war at some point, or they just like messed up with rebels, but that happened. Afrikia still looking very big. They have an alliance with the Kingdom of God as well. And then Kilwa, Congo to the south. Novgorod's looking pretty big in the north. I think them and the Mongols are on track for a war with each other at some point to become like the Russia of this game. But the Mongol Empire do look really good as things stand. I think that's the main thing as I head over this way. Yeah, Bukhara is starting to shrink. They did all the effort, put in all the effort to grab all this land, and then Mongols coming and taking it off them. But Manchu also getting quite big. Yuan. Timurids are getting pretty big. I watched them defend Mara from the Netherlands, so that sort of gives you an idea of the Netherlands' colonial ambitions. They were going after Mara here, and the Timurids came and sorted them out. We have Hindustan, who are growing, and I think do have the most development in the world. They're not quite number 1 GP because of institutions, but oh no, okay, it's second most. They are behind Toulouse at the moment, and Britannia up there as well in the 1,000 club. Everyone else is below 1,000. Delhi and Bengal, I mean, they're all big. Hindustan, it's not going to be easy, apart from Malwa, who I'm guessing is allied to Bengal and Delhi. So there's no real easy wars for Hindustan to grow, but they are actually expanding. You see in Southeast Asia, they grab some of this territory, so they might find other things to do. Yue and Yuan sort of breaking up a little bit more. Not much more progress on a unification in Japan. I have seen the Dutch have got one province at least. I don't know, they might have some more around. There's a lot of orange around here, so it's hard to tell who's who, but oh no, there's more here, never mind. There is Dutch Australian territory now, so they are certainly leading the way out here. Now if we go to South America, from the bottom you see Toulouse, pretty dominant out here. They have Peru, La Plata and Toulousian Brazil here. I think they may have taken some of this off Andalusia because they just had it all of a sudden, and that might have been in the last war between the two, because Toulouse won with like 30 war score, but it didn't seem like the borders moved in Europe, so I get a feeling maybe some of these provinces shifted hands because it's a very new one. You can see Andalusia is here. There's also Iceland here as well, so we might get another Brazil soon. Not sure who this is up here. Arawak. Okay, Toulouse is here as well. And then you have Britannian Colombia and Britannian Mexico, which spreads all the way up here. We have Andalusia for the most part in the Caribbean, with drops of Asturias and Iceland. I think this might actually just be Asturias now. I think they've been kicked out of Italy. You have, is this Iceland? Some of this might be Iceland. I think this is Iceland. So random specks of Iceland around the map. And then going up the coast you have bits of New Britannia and Britannian Louisiana. There's nothing else over the west just yet. Britannian Mexico is as far west. Oh no, there is some provinces here in California way. And then you have New Netherlands and Nova Hollandia, and there's also Britannian Canada there as well. So that's how it's looking at the moment. 1650, so 200 years in and about 170 to go. It's looking interesting. There is, I keep getting confused because I keep thinking the Romans have allied Toulouse, but they've allied France, which is obviously here in Rhodes, one of the crazier things on the map. But we've still got that. French Rhodes is still a thing. Saxon Arabian territory here. Saxon, well, I guess it's more like Jerusalem, Gaza, Jaffa, Elgin and Al-Karak. They're the provinces currently out. Egypt have not gone after them. I'm guessing that might just be to the alliances or not wanting it. Like I said, there's been some nations that have had a very peaceful 50 years. I don't think I've seen the Romans do anything. They've broken their truce with, they've got truce with Galicia a few times. I think that's just from breaking alliance, from not defending or not joining or call to arms. But they're still allied, so I don't really get what's going on there, but it's not really caused any issues. We'll see how the next 50 years go. I think the ones to keep an eye out for at the moment will be that Toulouse. Andalusia, will Toulouse eventually just take over everything? Will the Romans come to life? Obviously the Netherlands in particular, very dependent on stuff that is not in the mainland. And then I guess the Mongols, probably the other nation to keep an eye on as well. Maybe Hindustan, because I feel like they're going to be forced to be a bit more creative in their search for expansion if they don't want to fight a Delhi-Bengal alliance, or if they don't want to fight the Timmies. They're going to struggle a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes over the next 50 years. Okay, so 1700. We're getting towards the business end of the game, and as you look at it from the top at Europe, I don't think too much has changed within this view here. Seems roughly the same. Venice is growing a little bit in Italy, and Tyrol has also expanded a fair amount, and there's some blobbiness, but nothing crazy. East Francian Denmark, fairly, that might be a bigger change. Not too much. The Mongol Empire seems to have had a loss at some point, because Golden Horde has come back. They're now split like in half. They do still have a lot of tributaries though, so it's not a complete disaster, as you can see. But where we start to see some real change is that Byzantium, Treviso and Georgia are teaming up to basically play as Turkey and are attacking Egypt, and Morocco's been called in, but they are winning pretty well here against Egypt, and this is the second time this has happened, so might see Egypt start to fall away a little bit. They're already not a great power anymore. For example, Arabia's still survived as well, which is something to note. Coming down here, the Congo's had a bit of an explosion. It's the main event, and there is now Dutch South Africa, as well as sort of scraps of Great Britain. If we come across this way, Hindustan is growing. Delhi seems to have shrunk a little bit. I've seen them at war with the Timurids as well, and it looks like Hindustan definitely took land here as well. Bengal has continued to expand though, and I believe they are both great powers, all three of them potentially. I'll double check in a second. Not too much changing here. It does seem Bengal sort of incurring into the region is the main change. We're down to about two main nations in Japan, Usagi and Sui. If we come down this way, it does seem there's some bigger countries now. There's definitely British provinces around, not that one, it's just red, but there is 1, 2, 3 there. And you also have Dutch Australia or New Holland and British Australia, Britannian Australia, but yeah, Britain and the Dutch. Adding land, you've also got Britain. No, it's part of Australia, but New Zealand is British, so the British and the Dutch definitely the leaders in terms of grabbing land. Egypt is out here as well, I see, and Hindustan in the Pacific Ocean colonial game. Did anyone go for Hawaii? Okay, no, so Hawaii is still very much independent. Okay, well, we come across to South America. You can see a little bit of Andalusian Patagonia, a lot of Toulousian territory, a little bit more of Andalusia, Britannian Colombia, bit of a mix again between Toulouse and Andalusia up here. You still have that Icelandic Florida, and parts of Cuba still exist. You have more of Britain, Egypt, Egyptian Mexico. I hadn't seen that one before, to be honest. A lot more. There actually is quite a bit of Egyptian territory here. Doesn't look like we have a Panama Canal yet from the Andalusians. The Aztecs have sort of been dying to Britain, who have California. You have Andalusia, Dutch Arizona, Dutch area here, Andalusian Louisiana, New Andalusia, lots of Britain. So it's quite random. It's mostly Andalusia, Britain, and the Dutch in North America. Dutch more towards Canada. But yeah, Britain is the #1 GP, ahead of Toulouse by about 140 dev. Hindustan then sits a close third. Then there's a bit of a drop off to Bengal. Then the Netherlands, Timurids, Roman Empire, and Africa sits in 8th. So pretty split at the moment. What is that? That is 4 Europeans, 3 Asian civs, and 1 African civ. And then yeah, the civs that again just kind of missing out and have been on that list fairly recently. Egypt have been on there obviously for a lot of the time, and the Mongol Empire, the other one that is on there. I don't think anyone else is sort of in that honourable mention category at the moment. I don't know, it depends what Andalusia is. They could potentially have a squeak, but again, it's not really been going their way. Toulouse has come and wrecked them whenever it mattered, which is not fun for them. I mean, East Francia, Venice, they're not great powers, but they are quite strong nations to consider. I have seen when Toulouse beat Andalusia in that last war, Sardinia, Piedmont contributed a lot of it as well. I don't know where their army is now, because it looks like they have 1k, but it looks like it might have just got out of a war up here somewhere, probably making its way back. But there we go. We're going to now go on. We're getting there. 1750. I will drop in again. Okay, we are getting through the game. 1750 now. We will just go straight to the end after this period. So instead of doing like the 21 final years, so that's fine. So again, focusing on Europe, Andalusia is again fully occupied, getting pretty common. They're slowly shrinking in Europe, and they lose more colonies each time, which kind of sucks for them. But other changes, it seems like East Francia has lost some stuff to Hanover. I think they were definitely like connected to this top part before, which sucks for them. Poland seems to have got a bit bigger. There is a Germany up here with East Francian territory, and that's this country here with the tiny name, that's the Commonwealth. So there is lots going on. It looks like Galicia's kind of started to die. I think the HRE and Ruthenia have betrayed them a little bit, which is interesting. And then coming down, Egypt has collapsed. That is the big event of the last sort of 50 years. Byzantium, I guess we saw Byzantium, Treviso and Georgia starting it, but it has been helped. Other nations have piled in. It was the Ilkhanate, although they've now been also eaten by Georgia. Rum has returned. The Timurids took some. Arabia's taken some stuff back. You'll notice Britannia has some land here. They came in with Hindustan. Separate wars, but at the same time, and absolutely wrecked Egypt. And obviously Africa then has taken quite a bit. Somalia's, I think, was still alive, and they've taken more. And there's a bit of Egypt left, but you've also got Arabia here. So Byzantium took more. Saxony have held on to their land the whole time as well. So yeah, collapse of Egypt, probably the main event that I am going to show you. There's one other big one, but that is the other one. Andalusian Congo, that is new. Dutch South Africa remains. Hindustan, Timurids, sort of similar as you were out this way. Manchu seems to have slowed down. Not really much closer to a unified Japan, but Bengal certainly has grown a lot to the east, and they have actually, we'll see it in a minute, but they have overtaken Hindustan in terms of great power status in the world. Coming down here, you do have Dutch and British territories. There's also Toulouse here on New Guinea, which is interesting. Who's this? Okay, that's Hindustan as well. There is some random bits of different countries spread out around the map, but that's fine. But yeah, the other main event happened. It lagged my computer a lot. France, or not France, Toulouse and Netherlands and British, the main, I don't know what it was called, I think it was called New Britannia, the main New Britain colony, had the war for independence. It was all over the world because all the Dutch colonies, all the Toulouse colonies were fighting all the British ones, and then some of the British ones were fighting themselves, and they did win. It only led to one nation being released, which is this Great Britain, who were just called Great Britain. Instead of anything, it didn't become USA or anything. I guess that's like the next level down, maybe. But it was called Great Britain. It is currently allied to Toulouse and the Netherlands, as you can see, and they are actually conquering Andalusian Louisiana. So somehow the big loser in all of that war, obviously it was Britannia, but is actually Andalusia, because their territory is getting wrecked. And as you see, they'll probably lose some more of this as well. So that's the main change. I think everything else here is kind of the same. It looks like Egyptian Mexico has gone to the Byzantines, but beyond that, I don't think too much has. There's nothing crazy here beyond what we saw already. Oh, there's some other stuff. Salamanca's got pretty strong in Iberia, and they have Salamanca and Guinea. That's about it. The Africans are coming down this way as well, which is pretty cool. But yeah, Salamanca here. I mean, because it's more broken up, you're seeing a lot of strong nations. You know, these guys have like a easy nearly 200k military here, or 150. You can see there's a Kingdom of God, who themselves, that's another big event. Italy sort of become absolutely disgusting again, border wise. There is a border gore all over the place. Italy is here, here and here. You've got Roman Empire provinces, Africans, Kingdom of God split into 3 bits, Florence split into multiple parts. That is pretty gross, but look at Venice's navy. One thing to note is Britannia is not like the naval powerhouse that the UK normally is, so that's probably had an impact. It's a lot more divided. But let's have a look. And I guess Novgorod deserve a shout as well. They're still up here doing their thing. But great powers wise, Toulouse does lead the way by about 50 development ahead of Bengal. Britannia is a bit below that, obviously losing. Great Britain would have hurt them. Hindustan is now up there in the race. There's actually 4 countries up close together for top of the race, and I guess we'll find out who is the number 1, who's first, second and third at 1821. Maybe have a guess now. I'll trust you guys in the comments. Just drop a comment, pause the video now, have a quick who's your top 3, and then we'll can see if you're right in about a couple of minutes time. Hindustan, Byzantium, Netherlands still up there, then the Romans, who have been pretty disappointing. They have not really done anything for a while, and then the Timurids. I don't really know why. I'm guessing it's just to do with who's allied to who. I don't know if they've not wanted to push into HRE territory. Oh, Tyrol turned into Austria as well. I had not seen that. That's pretty cool. But they're pretty strong. But they were allied to the... Oh, they're not anymore. Okay. So yeah, maybe they're just afraid of their neighbours. But I don't know. They were friends with Galicia for a long time, but that seems to have stopped. And actually Galicia is now another tributary to the Mongols. Ruthenia is not. Okay, interesting. And the Mongols, they are exactly the same, I think. Don't think much has changed here. But there we go. We will come back at 1821 for the final instalment. Okay, we are past 1821 because it didn't stop for some reason. It just kept going, which is fine, I guess. But some crazy stuff has happened. So we're going to start in North America first this time, where not too much has changed. As you can see, it's mainly Britain and the Netherlands. The Icelandic part's been removed. These two, oh no, this Great Britain is at war with the New Netherlands. But everything else seems okay. Come down here, things still fairly normal. Great Britain's at war with Byzantine Mexico. Cuba is now free, mainly because Andalusia, I'm not sure is still around anymore, to be honest. South America, all the same. No changes there, nothing crazy. Same down here in Oceania. A few wars, nothing crazy, still sort of the same. Bengal's still getting bigger. They're beating Yuan in a big war at the moment. The shogunate has risen in Japan, which kind of looks like normal Japan. So cool, fair enough, nothing crazy. Hindustan still here, still growing. Timurids. Let's come down here. Kilwa, Toulouse in South Africa, although that is now being killed by the Dutch. Andalusia is now just Andalusian Congo. Africa is still coming down this way. But it's time to go to Europe. We've still got the fall of Egypt. First up, I'm going to go like this. You can see Byzantium has wrecked the Roman Empire at some point. I missed this. And the Mongol Empire has fallen as well, with Novgorod becoming Russia and Ruthenia benefiting from that in particular. So that's quite interesting. You can see the remains of the Mongol Empire here. Bashkiria got a bit of a victory there as well. Now Byzantium seems to have... something has changed. Like, I don't know what it is, I don't know what's underlying this, but they are currently, with the help of the Netherlands, fully occupying Toulouse. I don't know how that has happened. It's some sort of war, attacker against Great Britain. I don't know what this war actually is. Okay, they're separate wars. It is Byzantine v Great Britain with Toulouse, and then the Dutch also declaring on Great Britain, which is of course just kind of the USA in this game equivalent. So that explains it. The Dutch are actually winning, Byzantium is actually losing. Okay, that makes a bit more sense, I think. Fair enough. Oh, and they're also at war with Asturias as well. And then Lotharingia has an independence war against Sardinia. That's quite interesting, because that's like a middle power European war down here, which is quite interesting. But yeah, it is technically the end, despite Toulouse. They're not going to die. But let's have a look. Great powers. Toulouse is still the leader at the moment. Then it's Bengal, Britannia, Byzantium, Hindustan, Yuan, Netherlands, and Shogunate, Japan, have climbed into 8th place. And we have a hegemon. Bengal, the economic hegemon for the world. That's kind of cool. They're on their way to it anyway. But yeah, Toulouse is the winner. I don't think this war would have killed them, but it seems like Byzantium is just on a roll. I mean, like I said, they're not actually winning this war themselves. They are losing their war. But that's probably something more to do with the war goals being around Britain. But yeah, Toulouse actually losing. And as I said, the Roman Empire, they were fine. I went downstairs for like 20 minutes. We ran past the end date. And the Roman Empire has obviously had a big defeat to Byzantium at some point. So that was pretty interesting. I hope you have enjoyed this mini EU4 series. It took like all day to run through a whole game. So I hope you enjoyed it. And please be sure to leave a like and a comment down below if you do. Any feedback would be much appreciated. Any mods you want to see me play that are on the Steam Workshop would be ideal. I don't particularly want to be downloading random files and, you know, putting them in stuff. So if they're on Steam, that would be ideal, please. But any scenarios, again, if we can keep them to the Earth map as well. Like, I know there's people who have suggested stuff in the past. I'm trying to think of an example off the top of my head. There's certain mods that change the map. Let's keep it to real world, please. Thank you. But yeah, any suggestions would be appreciated. I'm not exactly sure yet what my plan is for videos. I'm thinking of going like a Civ 2-parter, then a 1-episode paradox like this one, so whether that be EU or Hearts of Iron. I do have Victoria as well, but I don't really know what's going on at all in that game, so probably not that one just yet. And then do like Civ, a couple of episodes of Civ, one of a Paradox game, couple of episodes of Civ, maybe something like that. Let me know if you think that's a good idea. But thank you so much for tuning in. As I said, if you could leave a like and a comment down below, be sure to subscribe as well if you are new to the channel. It would be much appreciated, and I'll see you in the next one.